For some time I've been filled with a sense of not hopelessness, but I guess the good word would be dread of the times in which we live and the darkness that seems to pervade it all. We witness mostly now once every 2 weeks some atrocity around the world, some great catastrophe that has occurred because of the evil of men. To those who question whether evil exists, need only look. Open your eyes and see. See the depravity that humanity is available to them and how desperate the times seem to be. The Apostle Peter wrote to people who lived in such desperate times, to the church in Rome specifically, as they were being persecuted, ostracized, outcast, downtrodden, persecuted. Times in which we know that it's going around the world with fellow believers, Christian brothers and sisters who are giving their very lives for the purpose of being a martyr for Jesus Christ. I know that my words seem kind of clashy with the symbolism of Christmas being a spirit of good news and good thoughts to all, but let me challenge you with a word from Peter's epistle here in a moment. That the depression and the despair is a direct result or cause of believers becoming very enclosed with themselves and not willing to bear witness to the dark world about how Jesus has come to bring new life. There's a direct correlation between the spirituality and vitality of the Church of God and the spirituality and the vitality of the culture that lives around them. If the church is moribund, if it's apathetic, then there is a dark culture. When the church shines the light of Jesus to be seen by all who live around, then that culture has been shown the light of life. And thus begins a time of revival. Many in this congregation are praying for revival, praying that God would move and stir among the world in which we live for a better day, or at least a harvest of souls before He returns. Well, the revival begins not in the world around us, begins right here. This is ground zero for God's spiritual awakening. And so with that thought in mind, I would like you to turn this morning to 1 Peter chapter 4. 1 Peter chapter 4. And I'm going to read the whole chapter. And then I'm going to highlight a few points for our embetterment. 1 Peter chapter 4. The epistle of Peter, it doesn't say to the church of Rome, but that's who it was written to. In fact, all of his epistles were written primarily to the church of Rome, but those who have ears to hear, let him hear what the Spirit is saying to the church today. Today. Therefore, since Christ has suffered in the flesh, arm yourselves also with the same purpose. Because he who has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin, so as to live the rest of the time in the flesh no longer for the lust of men, but for the will of God. For the time already past is sufficient for you to have carried out the desire of the Gentiles, having pursued a course of sensuality, lusts, drunkenness, carousing, drinking parties, and abominable idolatries. In all this, they are surprised that you do not run with them into the same excesses of dispensation, and they malign you, but they will give account to Him who is ready to judge the living and the dead. For the gospel has for this purpose been preached even to those who are dead, that though they are judged in the flesh as men, they may live in the Spirit according to the will of God. The end of all things is near. Therefore be of sound judgment and sober spirit for the purpose of prayer. Above all, keep fervent in your love for one another, because love covers a multitude of sins. Be hospitable to one another without complaint. As each one has received a special gift, employ it in serving one another as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. Whoever speaks is to do so as one who is speaking the utterances of God. Whoever serves is to do so as one who is serving by the strength which God supplies, so that in all things God may be glorified, through Jesus Christ, to whom belongs the glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Beloved, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal among you, which comes upon you for your testing, as though some strange thing were happening to you. But to the degree that you share the sufferings of Christ, keep on rejoicing, so that also that the revelation of His glory you may rejoice with exultation. If you are reviled for the name of Christ, you are blessed, because the Spirit of